Welcome to today's theater craft. So today we are doing something that is kind of summer specific, I guess. We are going to make luggage tags. And these are luggage tags inspired by Broadway musicals. So see here we have Come From Away, and you have a place where you can put your contact information and your name. This one, we have a traveling song from Shucked. And here we have Ease On Down the Road, and that is from, obviously, The Wiz. And this is the one we're going to make today. We're going to make I Love a Road Trip from Shrek. So today we're going to make luggage tags inspired by Broadway musicals. All right, let's get crafting. All right, here are the luggage tags inspired by musicals, songs from musicals. So we have here, this is Come From Away, and we have the traveling song from Shucked, and we have Ease On Down the Road from The Wiz. And if you look closely, we've got, you can put your name and contact information on the back. Now, notice I've made these quite large. These are, let's see, about 4 by, I think it's 5.5. Or 6.5, 4 by 6.5. So they're quite large. That was my choice. You don't have to make them that large if that's not the look you're going for. Obviously, I added ribbons on the end to tie them to your luggage, and that's it. I just think they're adorable. And so why don't I clear the space and I'll show you what we need to make these. All right, so the base of your luggage tag, I used, and I've got some right here, it's just some fake leather, that pleather that you can get at any fabric store. So that's what I used. I happen to have a bunch of it, so I used that. You are going to use, depending on how you choose to affix it to your luggage, some ribbon, and I've got some ribbon here that I plan to use for today. I have chosen to use a pattern, like I said, that's quite larger. I used this for my pattern. You could also use, if you have a Cricut or a cutting machine, you could cut these out with that. And I actually found it easier to cut using just a pattern. I did, however, use a Cricut to cut out the vinyl for the message. Now, if you don't have a Cricut, you could certainly use letters from letters you can stick on, or you could even just write it on with, or draw it on, paint it on with fabric paint. That would work. And I'll get to how many you need to cut here. You do need to have some sort of blade so that you can cut through to make the hole. Let me show you here. The hole to put the card in. You can just use an index card for the card there. You need some acrylic, some plastic. I don't know if you can even see that. You could use anything, honestly. It could be a file, like those plastic folders. You could use something like that just so that you can see through it. And then some general tools, scissors, transfer paper if you're doing the Cricut lettering, that would work, plus your Cricut tool and your weeding tool. You're going to need a pencil so that you can draw out, and some kind of a glue stick to help. I also used clips. Now, if you have sewing clips, that's better. You do not want to use pins for this because it will damage that. So clips, these are actually a little bit too tight. I couldn't find my sewing clips that you have to kind of put them together. These are a little tight, but it actually didn't make any imprint on the paper, the pleather. So that's about it. So let me clear this and then we'll get started. So the first step, you're going to take your fake leather here, and you're going to cut out 3 of these. So 2 of them are full without the cutout, and then 1 you're going to add the cutout. And by the cutout, I mean not just this. You're actually going to do this on all of them, but there's the cutout in the front where you're going to put, obviously, your contact information here. And that's the first one we're going to do. So let me just kind of explain why I've chosen to do 3. So you're going to do 2 that are going to be wrong sides together. And that way, when you have the card inside, if it doesn't match exactly, so if I take this card out, you're going to still see the nice side of the leather, the fake leather. And it also gives it a little bit more stability. And so that's why I chose to do that. So I'm going to put this to the side for a moment. And so I just cut those out. I didn't think you needed to watch me cut those out. I'm going to cut, just going to put that there. So I don't know if you can see that. And I'm going to take my blade. Obviously, I put a tile down here just to make it a little bit, so I don't ruin my tabletop. Here, I'm just going to cut this out. I'm going to cut the other 2 out afterwards, and you'll see why. I found it easier to, you don't have to worry about lining it up when you're sewing it, because you are going to sew around it just to get those nice and secure. So don't, it makes it easier if you just do it afterwards. All right, so I'm going to cut this out, and then we're going to cut out the place for the window. Okay, just be careful. We are going to sew around this, so no need to worry. You can also, once you get kind of it started, you can cut this. Sometimes those corners get persnickety. Come on. Smaller scissors might help too, or better scissors might help. Okay. There we go. Okay, just like that. So then you can make your window any size that you'd like. I made mine 2 different sizes. So one of them, see, this one is very large. And then this one is much smaller. So it's totally up to you what size you want to make based on your own aesthetic. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of just eyeballed it when I was doing mine. So I kind of folded this in half. And then I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller than the others. It does help if it's a little bit smaller when you're sewing your plastic insert. I found it was a little bit easier. So just something to think about. Okay. You know, I could do a pattern for this, and I probably would be better if I did, but I'm the kind of person who goes and wings it a little bit. All right, that's not bad. All right, so that's the beginning of that. I'm going to put this to the side for a moment because we're going to take our plastic. So like I said, this is kind of an acrylic, and I'm going to make this quite a bit bigger than the hole for now to make it easier to sew it. I discovered that sometimes it shifts when you're sewing, and so you want to make sure that it's bigger. And I know it's a little bit hard for you to see that. I don't know if that helps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around here to make that nice and secure. Don't sew around the edge there yet. We will eventually sew around the edge, but we're going to just sew around here next. So I'm actually going to go and do a straight stitch right around here. I'll be back in just a moment. Here we go. I did a straight stitch right around there. The machine doesn't have any problems going through the acrylic pieces. If you don't have a sewing machine, you could certainly do this too. You could even on the back side maybe glue that right around the opening, or you could take maybe even a nice strong piece of tape and secure that. So I'm now going to trim this. So now that we've got it all secure, I am going to trim this so that it doesn't get in the way. And you want to trim it right to just where the stitching is. That way the window is secure in there. Okay, there we go. Okay, now the next part, seriously could not be easier. So the next part, I'm going to take, this is going to sound really strange, I'm going to take a glue stick, and I'm going to glue, just put some glue on these two pieces here, and that's going to help it just to stay while you're stitching, so that you're not finding them kind of moving around a bit. So these don't match up exactly, but it's not a problem because we can trim it after the fact. Okay, let me get them all together. All right, so that, and again, if you don't have a sewing machine, you could potentially just glue these together, and that would certainly work too. So now what I'm going to do, and see what I mean about, oh golly, before we go there, I do need to cut my hole too. That would have been tragic. So I'm just going to wing it, but you could take, here, I'll do this for you. You could take a ruler, and I'm just putting it up just enough so that the, like the card can go in. And I'm doing it about, oh golly, they just moved. Listen. You know what, I prefer to do it so that I can see it. All right. Okay. As long as it goes through, we're good. Now, I found that this was actually better. I'm going to tell you, when I did some of the first ones, I actually made quite large holes at the top, and actually I found I liked it better just cutting a slit. I think the paper is going to be a little bit more secure in there, so that's what I did. All right, so that'll work. It's not a problem. So now we're going to put these together, and now it's totally up to you. You can do a decorative stitch on this. I did for this one, I did a decorative stitch on the edge, and it was just kind of like one of those zigzag stitches. But on this one, I did a straight stitch. And on this one, look at, I did a decorative stitch around the card holder, but on this one I did a straight stitch. So it's totally up to you which kind of stitch you do. Yeah, there you go. All right, so I'm going to kind of put these together. I think I might do a straight stitch around. These don't match up quite as well as I would like to. I'm going to go ahead and trim this a little bit. All right, and I think I'm going to do a straight stitch anyway, and then I'm going to, that way I can still trim it if I would like to. So I'm just going to put clasps just here just to keep it from moving too much. I need to trim that. That's going to drive me crazy. I have better scissors in my sewing room. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go around all the way around the outside here, and I'm going to do that with a straight stitch, and then I'm going to do a straight stitch around this little pocket here. Notice I haven't cut those out yet. I will. I just haven't done it yet. So I'm going to do a straight stitch around the outside here, and then a straight stitch around this little pocket here where we're going to put the ribbon. Okay, I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. Look at that. It's already starting to look really cute. So we've got, you know, you can actually, at this point, you can trim if you feel that they're not lining up the way you want them to. You can trim your edges. It's a little bit harder if you do a decorative edge, but in this one, you can even out those edges a little bit. And it's pretty easy to sew through, pardon me, all of those layers. It's surprisingly easy to do that with this kind of decorative vinyl. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, notice that this is open. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut open this. I found that it was easier to leave the two pieces underneath intact, because then you're trying to line up those holes, and it's not easy to do that when you're sewing. So I found that if you keep them intact, then you can cut those out after the fact. And I found that easier to do. So that's what I recommend. And obviously you want to be able to make it as large as appropriate for however you're going to affix it to your luggage. So if you want like a ribbon, I have a wider ribbon, so that's why I made mine bigger. But it's totally up to you what size you make it. Corners are always the trickiest because you don't want to cut into your stitching, obviously. Sometimes at this point it's easier to get your scissors out. I have my better scissors here, my good sewing scissors. Okay. There we go. Okay, and you can trim that out if you need to, but you're going to have the ribbon in there, so it's not really going to matter. All right, so now it's all about decorating the reverse side. All right, get that out of the way. So as I said, I have I Love a Road Trip from Shrek, which I thought would be really fun. Now, like I said, you can actually draw on this if you want with like even a Sharpie, or they have, letters at stationery stores that you can put the name of the show, whatever works for you. So I have my weeding tool here, and I'm not sure you can see it. I can see, I have Donkey, and then I have I Love a Road Trip, if you know Shrek, how Donkey sings that. But, if musical theater is not your thing, you could certainly do any other saying or image that inspires you. All right, it is all weeded out, all the extra pieces. How cute is Donkey there? I'm going to cut this apart just to make it a little bit easier for me to apply. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this on this side here. Cut this down a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm going to put I Love Road Trip and Donkey over here. That's the plan anyway. So I think I'm going to put Donkey first. And so I have, this is transfer tape. So with transfer tape, basically what you do is it's kind of like a tape that will help you to transfer the vinyl that you've got that I just weeded. And it's going to transfer it to the luggage tag. So you put it right over, and you're going to take Yeah, I have a Cricut weeding tool here, but honestly, you could, I mean, not a weeding tool, scraper here, but you could use a credit card. You could use, you know, anything that's blunt. You just want to get that image onto the transfer tape. And sometimes it takes a couple of times, but that one transferred beautifully. You just never know. So I want to put him way over to the side because the I Love a Road Trip I made very big. So how cute is that though? I just think that's adorable. All right, I'm going to put that where I want it and just take the scraper again and you're going to scrape. Now I found that this black vinyl was a little bit persnickety. This is a permanent vinyl. You could do like a heat transfer vinyl. I was just worried about because this is not real, I was worried about it melting in the, if I heated it up. Look at that, that's adorable. That's so cute. All right, and you can reuse this, so I'm gonna use it again. Okay, so it didn't record, unfortunately, the rest of the process. I'm not sure what happened, but it was exactly the same. So I just put I Love a Road Trip. I did not measure. I just kind of did it by eye. It's not perfect, but I think it's pretty adorable. All right, now look on the other side. We've got, obviously, you probably want to wipe that down, but just take a card. You could use an index card or anything like that and just cut it down to size. And, you know, just cut it based on the size that you have for your entrance here. Let's see, there we go. And you would put, obviously, your name and your contact information there. So that it's set. If you wanted to secure this, you could even put another piece of this leather, sew that down, and maybe put Velcro just to make sure that that doesn't come out. But oh my golly, that's adorable. All right, so now we're going to take just some ribbon. So you need a way to obviously affix it to your luggage. And so I'm just going to take a long piece of ribbon. And I'm not measuring it, I'm kind of eyeballing it. You know, it all depends on the kind of luggage you have and where you want to tie that onto your luggage. So I'm actually going to put it this way because I want that to be the front. I cut my, I don't know if you noticed, ribbon on the angle. And I'm going to put a little knot here. Now before I fully knot that, I'm just going to add, I have this musical notes ribbon. I don't know if you can you see that? It's pretty cool. I think it's adorable. So I thought I would cut a piece of that and tie that, oh, sorry, I just hit my camera, and tie that in. So I'm going to put it, now notice I didn't finish that knot there. I'm going to put this in here. So I do with the others too. All right, now I'm going to finish tying that knot on the top there. And then I'm going to take this, I'm just going to make a bow. I'll turn it around to make it a little bit easier for me. I'm going to make a bow. The musical notes do go a little wonky, but you get the idea. And this ribbon, I just got this ribbon. Like, I've had it for a long time in my stash. I got it years ago. And I love to be able to use some of the materials that I have in my stash so that I can use up supplies and take some pieces that already mean something to me and give it an extra special meaning. All right, so there we go. So you're going to you would tie that onto your luggage. You would put your name there. I Love a Road Trip. And let's pull out all the others too. And so we've got I Love a Road Trip from Shrek, traveling song from Shucked, Ease on Down the Road from The Wiz, and Come From Away obviously come from away. So I hope you try these, and please put down in the comments below where you're traveling. Did you travel this summer? Do you have a good trip coming up? What is your idea of the perfect vacation destination? I'd love to hear that from you. So thank you for joining me for this week's Theater Craft, and I will see you next week. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.